All right. Welcome to the Awareness Channel. My name is TC. Y'all know, see my ring right here? See that? That's the Trinidad and Tobago flag. I wear it because, well, my wife is from Trinidad and Tobago. I've been there 3 times. Beautiful place. Good food. I really like Trinidad and Tobago. What got me thinking about Trinidad and Tobago today, though, was the shit that's going on down in the Caribbean. The United States just blew up a small boat that it claims was headed towards Trinidad and Tobago with a load of drugs. How they know there was a load of drugs on there, I don't know. Small as there's 11 people on that boat. 11 people on that small ass boat. Donald Trump, a lot of drugs on that boat. Where would they have put them? I fucking don't know. But the Prime Minister of Trinidad, a woman named Kamala Persad, she got a hyphenated last name, but I can't pronounce it, so I choose not to try it and, butcher it. But I just go with Kamala Persad. She supports the action of the United States in blowing up that boat. She supports the United States going after suspected drug traffickers. At least that's what I read. Now, I think that the United States might, this is what I personally think now. So this is my opinion. So, you can quote me or not quote me, but I think that the United States been trying to get into Venezuela and get at that oil for a long time. I told my wife 15 years ago that the United States was going to try to use Trinidad and Tobago as a staging point to launch an invasion on Venezuela. Because they at their closest point, they're like 7 miles apart. All right? So I told her a long time ago this was going to happen, because I remember when the United States was trying to overthrow the government in Venezuela years ago. I remember it clear as day, but the people got behind their president and they had to reinstate him. But I think his name was Hugo Chavez, I think. And, so they weren't able to overthrow him. But they put all of these sanctions on them and made it so it's almost impossible for them to sell their oil and all of this. Now, they're going to try to overthrow Venezuela again. They tried to overthrow Venezuela when Trump was in office the first time. Remember that? And put they're calling the other guy the president as opposed to Nicolas Maduro. They had this other clown that they was calling the president. Well, I think the people of Venezuela get to pick their own president. The United States don't get to do that. But they calling Nicolas Maduro, they're calling him a dictator. They're calling him the head of a drug cartel. They put a $50 million or a $500 million. I forget. They put a big multi-million-dollar ransom on dude's head and everything. And they put 4,500 troops on boats right off his coast. And these boats are shooting at anything moving that look like it might be carrying drugs. I mean, they ain't this is how they're supposed to do it, according to what I read. They're supposed to send out a vessel. They're supposed to, intercept the boat, get them to stop, make them stop, board the boat, search the boat, and if there's drugs and shit on there, you arrest the people on the boat and you take them, into custody and let the courts deal with it. According to maritime law, that's what you're supposed to do. You ain't supposed to sink no motherfucking body that ain't posing no direct threat to you on the open water. You ain't supposed to do that. But the United States, We don't follow no what laws. We don't need no stinking laws. That's the United States position. And the government of Trinidad and Tobago is supporting that. Now, I kind of don't blame her, because if she throws her support behind Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, well, she makes herself a target for the United States. And having been to Trinidad and Tobago 3 times, I would hate to see that shit happen. I've been to Trinidad 3 times and Tobago twice. I'd hate to see the United States go in and destroy that beautiful place, trying to make an example out of them, saying that they was complicit. They'll make up a reason, saying that they was complicit in the drug trafficking coming out of Venezuela. They'll cook up any kind of story they want, and they will demonize your leaders, and they will give themselves reasons to open a can of democracy on your ass. That's how the United States gets down. So the knowing that the Prime Minister in Trinidad throws her support behind the United States. Just saying. She ain't trying to be, made no example of. Now, the United States, I believe, is following I don't know if y'all remember a man named John Perkins wrote a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He talked about it a while back on a documentary. And people, in the black community and in the government, they all, that's just bullshit. What are you listening to that? La, 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 la. But it's running the exact way that guy said it runs. First, they try to talk you into selling you their resources really cheap. You say, no, give me fair market prices. We don't want to do that. So we try to pay you off, bribe you. We won't take no bribe. So we try to overthrow you, turn the people against you. You know what I'm saying? That didn't work. So then they send in the jackals to try to overthrow your government. That's what Trump did, I think, back in 2017. It didn't work. So now they're going to send in the military and they're going to finish the job. I mean, I know that Venezuela going to fight back. The Venezuelans are going to fight back and all of that, but they lobbing cruise missiles from 20 miles out in the ocean into your cities. They hitting you with drones from 50,000 feet in the air or whatever. So they're going to try to overthrow and regime change in Venezuela. And Kamala Prasad of Trinidad and Tobago, she going with the safe bet with the United States. But the thing is, Trinidad and Tobago, if I'm not mistaken, is still closely tied to its former colonizer, Great Britain. The king or some member of the royal family visit Trinidad and Tobago, every year or every 2 years or some shit? You feel me? The United States building a big-ass embassy in Trinidad right now. I was standing right out in the front of that bitch. They're building a big-ass embassy in Trinidad right now, if it ain't already finished. The United States has built roads all through Trinidad during World War II. I know because I took the guided tour of the island. And my wife's sons, when we go down there, they drive us all over the island. And, they talk about, the history a little bit. So Trinidad and Tobago didn't just align itself with the United States and Great Britain. They always been close. You feel me? But if you think this thing that the United States is about to do in Trinidad is about drugs, well, you'd be mistaken. Because for one thing, ain't nobody ever going to stop doing drugs. That's a war that the United States just likes to have around so that they can justify them big budgets. Ain't nobody never going to stop. Prohibition does not work. That's been proven over and over again. Drugs sell theyself. I ain't never seen nobody forced to buy illegal drugs. And if you really want drugs to stop killing people, make drugs legal and put all the money in treatment that you're putting in prevention. But they don't want to do that because they want this so-called war to keep going on. You know what I mean? But as I was saying, this one is not about drugs. This one is about natural resources. It just so happens that Venezuela sits on more oil than goddamn Saudi Arabia. You feel me? It's a different kind of oil, but it's a bigger oil field than Saudi Arabia. Trinidad and Tobago got a lot of oil and gas. But, Trinidad and Tobago, they playing ball. Venezuela, not so much. So they did the sanctions. They got the sanctions and everything in place on Venezuela, trying to crash the economy and turn the people against its leaders. They're trying all kinds of shit like that. So now it's time to go in with the guns and the bombs. You feel me? So that's what's about to happen. And the president of Trinidad, the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, got to do what's right for the safety and security of her people and her oil companies. So she gonna side who she think gonna come out on top in this situation. She better. You know what I mean? So the people down in Trinidad, I don't know how they feel about it, but they probably think the same thing I think, because what are you going to do? Take on side with Venezuela and take on the United States military? And they say, and they say, well, what about CARICOM? The Caribbean community still ain't no match for the United States military. It just ain't. I'm telling you, it's not. So if they know what's good for them, they're going to stay neutral. Trinidad and Tobago, they taking a side. Trinidad has to take a side because they're so close. It's like 6 miles separating Trinidad and Tobago from the coast of Venezuela. You know what I mean? So I kind of don't blame her for this. I really feel like it's the only thing she could do. So don't get too mad at Kamala for supporting the United States in this thing with Venezuela. I don't like what she said though, Kamala. She said something about she supports the United States blowing up suspected boats carrying drugs towards Trinidad. She said something like they should all be killed violently, not arrested or taken into custody or any of that. Judge, jury, executioner, right there in the ocean. Period. That shit is illegal. According to maritime law, that's illegal. You ain't supposed to do that. But anyway, the next couple of weeks going to be really dangerous down in that part of the world, down in the Caribbean and in South America. But I do believe the United States ain't going to let this man stay in power, one way or the other. Let me know what y'all think. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. Thanks for coming by listening to me talk my shit. And I will catch y'all on the next one. TC. And I'm out. Peace.